More than 200 years ago, Germans immigrated to the uninhabited wilderness of central Ohio. They settled on 328 acres of land, which would become known as German Village. The residential area was a working-class neighborhood, and the modest homes were built almost entirely of brick, as were the sidewalks and streets, giving the area a unique character. The Germans built a number of successful breweries near the Scioto River, essential for beer making and transporting their beer barrels. None of the breweries are in operation today, although you can see several that are abandoned and boarded up. They have a distinctive European design with turrets and towers along the Columbus skyline. With the gentrification of the brewery district, a number of breweries were converted to modern condos. Many of the breweries have been converted to multi-use buildings that house small boutiques, antique shops, coffee shops, and even a five-star restaurant. You will also see several modern microbreweries in the area. But one question remains. Where did all the Germans go? Years after the end of the Revolutionary War, a Scotsman from Nova Scotia, John McGowan, was finally paid for his participation in land, most of which he sold to the newly arriving Germans who were fleeing war, famine, and persecution in their homeland. The trip was arduous. Crowded into disease-ridden ships for 6 weeks, the Germans traveled by riverboat up the Hudson, and once they arrived, by canal boat into the Northwest Territory, rife with Indians. Of course, Ohio wouldn't become a state until 1803, or Columbus the capital until 1812, but the Germans were already here and continued to flow into the southern end of Columbus for well over 100 years. By 1865, Germans made up 1/3 of the population of Columbus. As a matter of fact, one German, Joseph Fuß, was the man that named the future capital Columbus. And the Germans donated most of the land and materials and then built the Columbus State House.
I'm Jody Gratian. I'm the Director of Historic Preservation Services, and I basically deal with anything related to history to the neighborhood. I work with kids. I give architectural scavenger hunt tours. I work with the German Village Commission, the Board of Trustees.
Tell me about the original German community.
The Germans that came here from Germany built the cottages, built the churches, built the businesses, and I think they sort of pieced together what they were familiar with from home, and it was very social from what I understand. Singing groups were common and popular among the German community. The Germans brought beer brewing with them. They were, from what I understand, very religious. There were many churches built down here. They were very committed to strong educational foundations. World War I, the United States got involved in that conflict several years into the war, and there was, generally speaking, a lot of distrust of the German population in the United States. People weren't sure where loyalties were. They were nervous about not understanding people that were speaking German here in the United States, in Columbus, and I think they were hesitant to really trust them and trust that their interests were with the United States as opposed to their mother or fatherland. A lot of German families changed their last names. Columbus changed some German street names. Most of those were down here in what is today German Village. For example, Schiller Street became Whittier. Bismarck became Lansing. Schiller Park was changed to Washington Park. German books were burned. German businesses, ultimately many went out of business because people wouldn't patronize them. The German language newspaper ultimately had to fold. And so it seems like it was an effort to curb that German culture. I think it was in Schiller Park, which would have been Washington Park. I think that German dogs were slaughtered simply because they were German. And so these would have been pets. They would have been German Shepherds, they would have been Dachshunds. I can't imagine how owners of those pets would have felt. I can't really imagine what the mindset must have been. Sauerkraut was renamed Liberty Cabbage. It didn't sound nearly as German that way.
In 1919, anti-German sentiment, coupled with government corruption and women's rights, led to prohibition. The Volstead Act and the 18th Amendment prohibited the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors in the United States. Dealt another blow to the community. The breweries were shut down. After that, the Great Depression. Businesses failed and the Germans left the area in droves. Houses were abandoned and boarded up. Parks were overgrown and the area fell into squalor. That is until the renewal of the 1960s. Frank Fetch led one of the largest privately funded historic renovations. The citizens collected more than $1 million, 1,600 homes were restored, and the district placed in the National Register of Historic Places. The local Germans are all but gone, but they left behind a legacy. They brought the very first kindergarten to America, the first Christmas trees, and built Capital University. They also built an opera house in Columbus and a 30,000-seat sports arena, which have been demolished. Their influence and lifestyle is reflected in the living history of the restored buildings of German Village and the Brewery District.